Yah or Mina, just indulge me for a moment. What is the difference between a good and a great game? The extremes on my rating scale are easy to explain. Poor, which is 1 star, means don't buy it, don't play it, spend your time playing or doing something else. And an all-time great at 5 stars is the game that will stay with you forever. You may not play it all of the time, but it's a landmark work, the kind of thing you put in a museum to story the development of games. Of course, all my ratings are my opinion. But what's my line on good versus great games? A simple explanation might be that good games have more flaws than the great ones, but I think that concentrates only on the measurable things like graphics, sound, gameplay, and overall design. Things where, with some relative objectivity, most people will come to a consensus on their quality. For me, I think great games are the ones which are greater than the sum of their parts. They leave an impression, they create a desire within you to play it. Sometimes they also set trends in gaming and culture. Fighter's history versus Street Fighter 2 on the Super Famicom is this exact comparison. There is nothing abjectly wrong with Fighter's history, it does everything pretty nice, but Street Fighter 2 had an outsized impact way beyond being a one-on-one fighter, and at least for the Super Famicom, it's a great game for that. Castlevania on the Famicom has some stiff controls, and the knockback is frustrating. But these issues are actually part of the game's DNA, and more than that, it overall forged a path and pushed the genre forward, making it a great game. First debuting on the PC Engine as PC Genjin in 1989, or Bonk as you may know him, he became the console's de facto mascot for a while, spawning 2 direct sequels. And why is it called Super Genjin? Well, Genjin is the Japanese word for primitive man or early human, and it's a play on words based on a platform it originally debuted on in Japan. PC Engine, PC Genjin, PC Engine, get it? It rhymes. And also they make a wordplay on Pythocanthropus erectus, giving it the subtitle Pythocanthropus computerurus, making up the acronym PC. Anyway, this being in the Super Famicom release made it Super Genjin. In a run of themes, PC Genjin and PC Genjin 2 are what I consider great games. The latter two defined a console's image, providing a spin on the platforming genre that was distinct, original and inventive. Whereas Super Bonk does a lot of things right, but truthfully for me, it's not a game that caused me to play it above the PC Engine outings. That for me is what I think about when I rate a game. So by giving Super Genjin or Super Bonk a good rating in no way makes it bad, though it does have some measurable, objective flaws in my opinion. Now admittedly, it's a bit odd that I'm reviewing this one instead of Super Genjin 2, as that was only released in Japan, but I've been searching the rubbish heap for it and I haven't found it yet. I know it's in there somewhere, and it's a nice box copy too. But anyway, this is the game I ended up playing. Don't worry, I'll get to Super Genjin 2 sometime, as that being a Japanese exclusive makes much more sense to feature here. Alas! The story goes that, well, there isn't one. The manual just basically says you'll be crossing space, travelling through the innards of dinosaurs, fighting power-ups and running around causing chaos, which to be fair, in this game is pretty much what you do. And at the start of it, King Tamagodon III, as he's called in the Japanese games, which roughly means King Egg Rice Bowl III, or King Drool outside of Japan, lures you in with some meat and traps you into a teleportation device where you land in Chinatown, somewhere, somewhen. And from there you'll navigate jungles, water, a room of a house, the universe, the moon, a wine glass and so much more. Genjin's main attack is his massive head, which he can headbutt and smash into enemies to dispatch them, as well as chomping his way up some vertical ascents. Like the third PC Genjin game on the PC Engine, Candy litters the stages transferring you from super small, normal size and super big, and the environments do seem to take more advantage of this than the third PC Genjin game. It's not perfect, but this is also quite a non-linear game. Presentation, I found it quite pleasing. It's a little bit more pastel in places than the bright, punchy, saturated tones of the PC Engine outings, but it does have some of its modes of being quite vivid. Overall, I really quite liked it, and sound-wise, it's fine. Some of the soundtracks, though, seem a little bit out of place, but they don't seem to totally disagree with the game that was being played. I think I just prefer the rawness of the PC Engine game soundtracks. And control-wise, no complaints. Admittedly, Bonk games have always been a little bit of an acquired taste of some control-wise. He has a little bit of inertia, so he gathers speed as he moves, which affects jump distance, and his trademark headbutt, which has next to no range, so you'll take a bit of a risk attacking like that. So you're much better off jumping and then crashing your head into the enemy. But that has always been the case. Overall, it controls just fine, even the low to zero gravity stages, which take a little bit of getting used to. But you will. At first, the bonus stages are pretty fun and varied, but because they're so frequent, they begin to outstay their welcome, in my opinion, and by the end of the game, you'll probably be trying to actively avoid them. but I do appreciate their inclusion. I think my biggest criticism of this game is that it's too easy. It's like a journey. You look out the window, see some great scenery, nice sounds along the way. It's all pretty good, and then before you know it, you've arrived at your destination, the credits screen. The only real challenge in this game is the final boss battle, and once you get the timing down, it's not that hard either. To this game's credit, at least when you continue after losing all your lives, you'll have to start at the beginning of the stage again, and the stages overall are fairly long, around about 15 minutes in total, but it's an easy game nonetheless. It's not until virtually the last stage of the game that it stops giving you hints everywhere of what to do and where. These signposts will give you a big clue as to what to do to get through the stage, or where to go when you get seemingly stuck. To some extent I appreciate this, but it does take a bit of the puzzle platforming element away from the game. This can always be solved by good stage design, and I wouldn't say that Super Bonk has bad stage design by saying it, so I'm not sure why they needed all the arrows and signposts everywhere. It's no Castlevania Symphony of the Night, but yeah, the lack of challenge is my biggest knock on a game, and that directly influences the impression that it leaves, and the thing that bars it from being rated as a great game for myself. Talking of these, the boss fights, apart from maybe the last one with King Tamagodon 3 as I just mentioned, all of the bosses are super easy, with perhaps the vacuum cleaner elephant being the most annoying, but he's not difficult. And then to pad the length of the game, a boss rush stage occurs at the end of stage 5. My senses were telling me that come stage 5 or 6, the designers ran out of steam a bit, because they are shorter stages overall and lack some of the earlier finesse on the opening stages. So on to the Japanese rating for this game. I rate it as beginner, as there is Japanese text in this game, but you really don't have to understand it, and it's all rendered in hiragana script if you can read Japanese. If you can't understand a word of Japanese though, you'll be able to play this game fully with no difficulty at all. The only place where kanji appears in this game is for the game title screen and the end credit screen with the staff roll call. So if you want to copy your Super Bonk at a lower price, the Japanese version is very accessible. In terms of my overall rating, I rate it as 3 stars out of 5 from my rating scheme. The bottom line that there are better Genjin games out there, namely the original PC Genjin and definitely PC Genjin 2. This game's biggest plus point is that it's the cheapest of the Genjin games out there, but recently I've noticed prices for it creeping up in Japan, especially if you want a complete box copy, but that's just the way of the world. If you can only buy one Super Genjin game, I'd say the second one is the one to buy. I do still like this game, just like Super Adventure Island for the Super Famicom, which I'd also rate as good because that game is also something of a pushover, bar the last boss. In fact, these two Hudson releases have a lot in common because both Super Adventure Island 2 and Super Genjin 2 on the Super Famicom are better games. But there is something to be said for a game like this. You can put it in and play it for 90 minutes and have fun. There are no passwords to save, so you do have to complete it in one sitting, but that is very doable. Overall, as I said at the outset, Super Genjin does a lot right. By measurable things, it's ticking all of the boxes, but the overall experience doesn't exceed the sum of its parts, and for that, it's a good game. As always, like, subscribe and all of that shit, and also check out this rad Rubbish Heap merch, available worldwide on Redbubble and Amazon. See the links below for how to purchase. I've been Saki Endo, and this has been a Rubbish Heap. じゃあねーね。
バイ、ハドソン。スーファミ、スーパー原人。
原人ってめんこいんでないかい。あれあれあれ、そんなこともできんの。うわぁ、土地にはおかげスーパーだべ。
7月にぞろに買わなきゃハドソン。
親だべや。